Let's keep working with the Olympic data file that we've just imported into Power BI. I've got it imported here. Now you can build hierarchies in Power BI. I've actually never built them here. I've always built my hierarchies in Excel. And I just want to show you a visualization or how to use visualizations and some of the options on a visualization and how a hierarchy can be useful when building a dashboard inside of a report. Let's make a visualization. And if you recall, if you want to make a visualization, all you need to do is go over to the visualizations pane and click on the visualization that you want to make. Why don't we make a column chart? Great. Now we're looking at this. I can just drag it over here and make it a little bigger so it's easier to see. And if we want to edit this, because obviously right now it's just a placeholder, there's nothing useful in it, make sure you click on it and that you can see it's selected. That'll give you some options over here along the visualizations pane where you can start to populate your visualization with useful information. Now, I would like to see a count of medals by sport. So a way to do that would be under values, I would want to add the count of medals. We have count of medals here. I can just drop that into values. Well, now we have a number, 32,591 medals. This is just all of the medals. It's not broken out in any way. We need to break this out because it's a column chart. We want to start to break it out horizontally. I want different columns that visually will compare to one another. So this is a bit more useful to me. So one logical way to view this information would be to view the medals by sport. So let's go into our events table and we'll just click the drop down arrow there. And remember we had made a hierarchy, sport, discipline, event. If you don't remember that, you can click on the down arrow next to it and it will show you what's in it. Well, why don't we grab that and bring it over to our table? We'll put that into the axis field. And now you'll see what has happened is we've got all of the sports listed here and the number of medals awarded by each and every sport. Well, that's somewhat interesting, and maybe I like that and find that to be somewhat helpful. I can put that up over here. And let's build this again, but just make it, make some modifications to it so it's even more useful. Now, if I want to use this visualization as the base for the next one, I can just go Control C, Control V. I can copy paste it essentially and drag it down here. Now, there's no need for us to have the exact same visualization on a report page twice, right? That's obviously redundant. So let's go into here and modify it somehow. So I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked on this one, the one at the bottom, and I'm going to go into the filter pane. And under sport, I'm going to filter this for the sports that I'm interested in. So maybe I am interested in, oh, here, this might be good. Table tennis and tennis specifically out of all of the sports. I'll just collapse my filter pane. Now remember, Power BI does a lot of really powerful things. For example, if I click on table tennis in this table below, it will automatically highlight table tennis in the table above. Pretty useful. Now let me show you some of these options in the visualization. Do you see this down arrow here? If I hover over it, it says click to turn on drill down. What does that mean? Well, if I click on that, if we have data that's assembled in a hierarchical form, we can click now on that data and go down to see what's in the next level. So go ahead, click on that arrow, which I've already done. That's why it's kind of circled in black there. And click on either tennis or table tennis. I'll click on table tennis. So right away, we've zoomed in on table tennis. It's also made a change to our table above. And if I click on it yet again, I can now see a breakdown of the different events via table tennis. Right, I can see there was doubles, there was singles, and there was team. Now, how do I go back up to where I was? Well, that's what this drill up arrow is for. And this takes us back to where we were, tennis and table tennis. Now, what about this here? Go to the next level in the hierarchy. What do we use that for? Well, that'll take this visualization down a level, but it does it for everything that we see. So not just table tennis anymore, it'll do it for table tennis and tennis. So first we deselect drill down mode. So deselecting that means now when I click on table tennis, I won't drill down a level. Instead, what I'll do is I will identify, right, any sort of instance of table tennis on any other visual that I have available. And if I click it again, it just resets everything back to where we were. Okay. So let's click this one here now with the double down arrow. This will take everything that we see in the visualization down a level in the hierarchy. If I click on that, and I got to go down once more. So once to select it, once to go down. And now we can see, oh, I can see doubles, singles, mixed doubles, team doubles, indoor, singles, indoor, mixed doubles, indoor. This is no long, this is showing us information now. It's mixed. It's showing me information for tennis and table tennis. And so now I'm seeing that my visualization, while it's giving me more information, it might not be as useful. What if I still want to compare at the specific event level tennis and table tennis? Well, what I can do is, you see where it says legend here? I could just drop something into the legend field to help break out these charts a bit better, or these columns, I should say. For example, if I want to see the difference in doubles, how much of doubles of that 194 medals, how much of that relates to tennis versus table tennis, we can get some idea by looking above. You can see what's happened here, tennis and table tennis. It does indicate there, so that visualization is still cross-referencing. That's working well. But really what we want is we want to look at it by sport. So if I just take sport and drag it under legend, take a look at what happens. Now I can see a breakdown between table tennis in the light green and tennis in the dark green. Pretty useful, right? And if you want to go back up a level, just drill back up. I can do that in the visualization that we had above as well. Again, I can click on this drop down, down arrow, click to turn on drill down, and I could click on archery as an example. Zooms in on archery, click it again, and I get a breakdown of everything that's going on inside of archery. I could click this again to turn off that mode, and then just drill back up to where we were. Now, something that you could do, but I don't recommend you do, is depending on how many layers of data you have, you could expand everything down one level in the hierarchy. And that will give you quite a bit of information. If I click on that, you'll suddenly see that we see a detail of everything, and we've gone down a level in the hierarchy. And we can see if we can go down even a level further, and now you've got quite a bit of information there. This gets to the point where it's not useful. So this only works if you filter it out and only have fewer sports there available to look at. Let's go back up. I'm going to resize these to make space for something else. Something that most reports that I've seen contain is called a slicer. So we'll click on a slicer just to bring one in. Oh, and you see what I did there? Here's a good example of what not to do. So I had that visualization with tennis and table tennis down here selected when I clicked on slicer. And so it's replaced that visualization with this slicer thing, and I didn't want to do that. So we can undo, just to bring that back. Make sure you click outside of all of your visualizations somewhere in the blank canvas space, then click on slicer. And here we go. It just creates this thing, and we can select or drag data fields to populate the visual. So let's say I'm happy that I've got all of this metal information, but I want to be able to filter it quickly in some other way. And a good way of doing that is to use a slicer. So you might recall that we had also created a hierarchy, and you don't need a hierarchy to do this, but I'm going to use one. We created the hierarchy location. So I'll just put that into fields. And we can make this smaller. I really don't need this to be that big. And we can start to move some stuff around here. Let's make this one a bit smaller. Maybe move this down here. You know what? I'll move my slicer down here next to this, make this nice and big. Okay, let's look at some options for what you can do with your slicer. Here's everything, and you may have noticed I had accidentally selected summer there. Now I can only see the results for summer. You'll notice that did not change my discipline and sport down here, the smaller visualization where I was dealing with tennis and table tennis. That's because I've selected summer. Those are both summer events. If I select winter, it should disappear. Yeah, and it does. These are not winter events, tennis and table tennis, at least not in this data set. We could also look at the slicer differently. Instead of having it like this, you could click that drop down and now you can see everything. That's a lot of scrolling. We also have a view option. If I go here, instead of seeing a list view, it's more of a drop down. And now I can click on that, and maybe I want winter. And so we select winter, but still everything here is in a nice little drop down that pops up. And some people find this to be better because they find it easier, it takes up less space in their report. So slicers can be very useful. You'll often see people using slicers with dates so they can go through data by a specific date. We don't have traditional month, day, year data in here in any way, but we do have something that approximates dates, right? I think we had the season, which was winter or summer, and then we also had the actual year. So let's do something as best we can. Let's click outside of these visualizations. Let's make another slicer. And let's go ahead and grab the addition from under hosts. I'm going to grab addition. And remember, addition, I think, related to the year. So this is the entire span of data that we have. And I can move this around, or I could actually enter in specific dates so I can see the count of medals during that period of time. I'll show you. Let me go back to a time when table tennis wasn't even an Olympic sport. You'll see table tennis disappears. A bunch of things disappear because they had fewer sports. And over time, they started to add more sports. Okay, table tennis comes into existence, and then we could scroll around that way. So again, you can look at it like this, and if you click this little drop arrow, you've got different choices: a list, a drop down, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. You can view this as a list. I don't think it's as useful this way, but it's an option. Drop down. I would prefer this to the list personally. And the reason I would prefer that to the list is because you can make it a lot smaller and it would still be quite effective. Right? And you can just scroll through that instead of having this whole thing take up space. Other options, I think, was between. And again, I would make this just a bit bigger so we could see the slider, move that around. So I hope you found this helpful. A few other ways to slice and dice your data in Power BI.